Shea.
Oh!
What's going on here?
Everybody.
My man.
Yeah.
He's running from the cops, man. I knew it. I always knew he was running from the cops. When he got off the show the last time,
I just did it. It's coming back though. I'm growing it back.
Oh man! Hey! Listen, we had already gave you a nickname.
What was that?
Your nickname, right?
What was that?
You remember your nickname? See, you can see it now though. We called you China Black.
Let's get it.
That'll get raunchy. Same spot made Biggie wanna rock Versace. DC, home of the Prez, home of the Feds, home of some of the most.
YouTube, we're back again talking about the Commanders. Oh man, it's camp. They got the shoulder pads on. They got the helmets on. They hitting, baby. They are hitting. I'm excited. I love to see hitting. This weekend, they got a big practice at the stadium. And anybody can walk through. I'm looking forward myself to trying to get down there, and they're hitting. I'm excited. But before we start talking about the show, I'm gonna talk about my man Trey Z, my man Deacon. They both here. My man Deacon's on travel, so he's gonna be a little quiet, a little mute today. So me and Trey Z, hey man, me and Trey Z will take care of ESPN.
That's
we
right.
got ESPN. We looking out for you. You can chime in here and there. We're talking about all things Commanders today. And we got part two of our special guest from last week, my man, Lake Lewis. He looks a little different, but Lake Lewis, come on, Lake Lewis, come on the show for us, baby.
What's up, Big Lake?
What's up? Oh, he looks different.
Where's Lake?
He looks different, baby.
That's Jake Lewis. You want Lake? Where your cousin at?
Hey man, that's his son. That's Lake's son.
Just for a little bit. Let the face breathe a little bit.
Yeah,
That's right.
That's
Hey,
right,
man,
baby.
it's good to have you back. We are honored
Appreciate it.
for this busy man to come right back and attack.
CBS's own Lake Lewis, guys.
That's right. That's right. Check him out.
That's
so,
yes,
as we always do, we try to get the real insight. We reach out to not only other content creators when they go down, but now that we got you here, we're going to try to pick your brain one more time.
Part two.
Let's talk about the Commanders, sir. Last week of practice, what did we see? What didn't we see? Where are we going?
Man, we saw guys getting after it. We saw some days defense. I think the defense have had better days than the offense so far. But I think the offense, has shown moments. You've seen Carson Wentz be able to throw the deep ball, and that's something that's, eluded from this offense for a long time. So his accuracy hasn't been there, as far as consistent. So if he can get that down, then they might be able to do something on the offensive side of the ball, because you look at their receivers, Terry McLaurin, naturally, that's the guy. But Curtis Samuels is back, and he's playing pretty well. It looks like he's definitely recovered from that hamstring injury. And then, of course, you have Jahan Dotson. We are Penn State, of course. And you think of what they can do with these three guys. They're interchangeable. They're guys that can move inside, go outside. They're all pretty good route runners, all pretty good catchers. Jahan Dotson, I think, is going to surprise a lot of people with how much of a complete receiver he is as a rookie. His game is almost flawless at this point. So you pair him in that offense with a quarterback that can throw the ball down the field finally, I think it opens things up for the running game, which, let's face it, a lot of teams dared Washington to run the football on them because they didn't trust the quarterback to throw the ball down the field. So now, and Antonio Gibson, you think of J.D. McKissick, you think of now Brian Robinson, who they drafted. They've got some backs now that are interchangeable as well. So I don't know if there's anything on the offense that they won't be able to do, as long as the offensive line, of course, can hold up and keep Carson Wentz, from being, laying down.
Right.
Things can happen. But I like what I've seen so far. It's early, I mean, but they're still working. The defense naturally has had a leg up. That's a defense where guys have been in the system for a while now. You would expect that. You would expect, two new quarterbacks in Sam Howell and Carson Wentz to still be learning the ropes. But I do like what I see so far, guys.
Lake, I had a question about. I know last week we talked about AG had a little injury, or a significant injury in like his hamstring or his leg. I heard him talk this week that they've been doing therapy on him and doing some special stuff on him. And he believes it seems to be working, and he started practicing again this week. I think he's been practicing all week this week, I think. So did you get a chance to see him this week and how he was moving? Was he moving a lot better than he was the week before?
Yeah, I mean, they kind of took the handcuffs off of him a little bit, but they're still not trying to throw him out there too much. I mean, because let's face it, you got a long season ahead of you. I'd be surprised if you saw him play a lot in preseason, if not at all. I mean, he's proven what he can do. He's a workhorse. He's a guy that they give the ball to a lot. I'd like for him to kind of spread him out a little bit more this year. He's thinned down. Remember, this is a converted wide receiver from college, so who's a 4.3 40 guy, but he doesn't play fast because they put weight on him, made him more of a bruiser, to be honest with you, between the tackles runner. But now I think they're going to try to get him out in space, let him catch the ball a little bit more, flare him out, and then you can see what he can do. So right now, I just think that they're trying to get him football shape, get him back. He in everyday life, he's in great shape compared to us. But, they need him to get back in football shape, and I think they'll bring him along slowly before the regular season starts.
Hey, man, that's awesome, man. And I know you was talking about Jahan Dotson, man, just being but going to be a surprise, man. He has surprised me, not only with his physical game, but there's also a game that everybody needs to have, especially here in Washington, fortunate and unfortunate, of character. And I saw an interview with him, man. He comes off very confident to be such a rookie, man. But he talks very clearly, very confidently, and I think that transitions to the field. So my question for you is, when you look at the offense and you think, and I know we brought him up the last time, and you said he's doing okay, but I got two guys that I'm looking to make a name for themselves outside of Jahan. That's my man Samuels, who's going to be the surprise of the year. That's my stance. I'm standing on that. And my man Brown. I think Brown, like you said last time, I'd sit back and think about it. He was supposed to be an over-the-top threat. I need to hear or see him and be that, or he's just going to, fall into obscurity. So what's going on with those? Well, you already said about Samuels, but tell me more about Brown.
Last week, he had a hell of a catch. I mean, it was a deep ball that was thrown up, and it was a contested ball, and he came down with it. And, it was a deep pass, though, and that's the kind of stuff that he did in college in North Carolina. He was a playmaker, and I think he led the country in catches over 40 yards. I mean, he was just a deep threat. And then, obviously, last year as a rookie, fans have to remember, if you don't have a quarterback that can get the ball down the field,
right,
that all but eliminated what his strength was, what they were expecting from him. So now you bring in a Carson Wentz, a guy that can throw the ball down the field, and we saw it last week in practice with Dayami. You saw the stuff that he's capable of doing. And I also think it's going to be good for him. He's a year in. He understands how the game works, how he has to get himself prepared and ready for games. But more importantly, he's got, like we said, Terry McLaurin on one side, Jahan Dotson on another side, Curtis Samuel on another side. Hell, we saw a package last week where all three of them lined up on one side of the field. So you think about that. Who are you going to key on at that point? So now you have a chance to let him do some of the things that he needs to do in this offense. So I don't think fans should forget about him. I think he's going to have a nice rebound sophomore season. I do believe that.
And that's the weapons. That's weapons right there.
Right. Absolutely.
Well, Lake, I'm concerned about that offensive line. Like, I know they brought in 2 linemen this week, 2 tackles, I believe, this week. Her Cosme's struggling a little bit now. They didn't have pads on most of the practice. I think only been 2 days of practice with pads. So usually that makes a difference with the offensive line. But they did bring in 2 offensive linemen in to take a look-see. Do you think the coaching staff is concerned about the offensive line? We know that Wentz, when his legs are not steady, he can be a little high on his passes.
Yeah, I mean, listen, when you when you're an offensive lineman and you don't have pads on, and you have guys like Montez Sweat, who's fast, strong, and you can't really grab anything. I mean, they're going to go by you. That's just the way it is. With the pads on, I've said this about Sam Cosmi for the last year now. I personally, truly believe that Sam Cosmi is, I don't know. I mean, and I sometimes I get mad when I say these things, but last year when I saw Sam Cosmi and Brandon Sheriff standing next to each other, they almost looked like clones to me. And I actually made the comment that I actually can see this guy getting moved inside. I actually can see it happening. And I still feel like overall, he probably would be better as a guard than a tackle. He's strong, he's nimble, and let's face it, I mean, he has had some struggles at the tackle spot, but then again, this is only his second year. So you have time, but normally tackles, when they come in out of college, the great ones just get right after it. I mean, obviously Trent Williams is not the guy that you want to base tackle play off of, because he's one of the greatest at that position of all time. Yeah. But you saw when he came right in, he did work. Chris Samuels, when he came in, he did work. John Jansen, when he came here, he did work. I mean, those guys immediately made their name. And I've always felt like if a guy struggles at the rookie spot, remember Brandon Sheriff was, when he came here, they brought him in here to be a tackle. Right. And they knew just the arm length wasn't there. It wasn't his niche at the next level, because the men he was going up against were larger than the men he was going up against in college. And I'm starting to think that might be the case for Sam Cosmi. So again, that's just my thoughts, my sentiments. It doesn't mean that they're going to do that, but I actually could see him moving in. And when you think about them going out and getting veterans, who've been in the league for a while at that position, that's kind of a telltale sign, right, guys? Right. You did re-sign Lucas, as a veteran for some insurance as well. So, yeah, that might be a sign right there.
What about Siddiqui? My man Siddiqui, Mr. Charles, what's going on with Siddiqui?
Yeah, I like Sadiq. I do. He's a guy that can play multiple positions. I just wish they settled on one form. They're always trying in the different positions: left tackle, right tackle, left guard. I mean, I think if you give him a position and just let him work at that position and get used to the nuances of it, and that's it. I think the guy can be a player. I really do, because he's got, he's just got a great base. I mean, he's got two of the biggest calf muscles I've ever seen in my life, literally, with like softballs in his legs. I mean, he's got a good, solid base. My phone keeps going crazy now.
There he is. All right. So while we got you right now, let's shift to defense.
Okay.
All right. Defensively, I believe, I'm not exactly sure who said it, which was the player. I think they were talking to my man Fuller, and Fuller was feeling like, hey, you know what? If we really get at it, we could be something special. Did you hear that, or what do you think about our secondary this year? Everybody coming back healthy, ready to play.
And that's I think secondary is deep. They're gonna have some really tough decisions to make as far as who makes the final roster. I'm really impressed with what I'm seeing. I mean, you go down the list of all these players, and there's some young players that have really been making, a name for themselves in these practices, and it's carrying over, from last year, guys that were unheralded. And then you have guys that are you think are going to take the next step. But Derek Forrest is a guy that did it, that comes to mind. You have the kid Butler, like safety. I mean, they've got some guys that are really pressing, and I don't mean pressing in a bad way. I mean pressing to get playing time, because they're out there. And then on top of that, guys, let's look at it this way. Look at who they're going up against now. You've got a decent amount of, talent on the offensive side as far as the receivers. So now you get daily competition. There's no, your best guy in the secondary is going to take McLaurin on the other side. they're the only ones that's getting worked out every day. No, everywhere there's competition across the board. We didn't mention Cam Sims on the offensive side of the ball. So he's another receiver, big receiver, tall, that one of these guys in the secondary, Benji St. Juice or someone, can cover. So, I'm impressed. I do think the secondary has a chance to be really special this year. I do. It naturally starts with being the pass rush up front. If the defensive line does their part and they put pressure on the quarterback and make him put some balls up in there, you've got playmakers in the secondary. William Jackson, I think he's going to have a heck of a year this year. He looks more comfortable. He knows what's expected of him. He's not going to be in press coverage all the time like he was in Cincinnati. They play some zone here. They play some cover 2 back there. They play a lot of different packages in the secondary under Jack Del Rio. So, now guys are comfortable. Kendall Fuller as well, comfortable. They know what to expect. And I think, Bobby McCain, I think they'll take the next step this year as a group, as a unit.
Well, what do you think about Davis, the linebacker? I was watching a little bit of practice they showed online, and Davis is a big guy, man. 6'3", 6'4". It's like he's about 240. He's built like a tank, and he moves very fluently. Do we think we can get him coached up to be a participant in the defense this year, and then especially in this new position that he's playing? I'm hoping that with his size and his speed that he can be able to contribute a little bit this year on defense. What are you seeing him this year?
You mean Jamin Davis?
Jamin Davis, yeah.
Yeah, Jamin Davis is, he was making some plays out there. Clearly you see the athleticism that the guy has. He's big and he's fast. And I think he's playing at his right position. I think he's definitely a guy that needs to be on the outside. A guy you can send on a blitzer every now and then as well. I think they just have to turn him loose and not make him think so much, which is the case with all the players on defense. There were how many times did we see them last year talking to each other like, you should have been here, you should have been there. You don't want to have you guys be robots out on the field. You want them to just be reactionary, and just go after things. And I think Jamin was pressing last year to figure out, am I supposed to be here? Am I supposed to drop back here? What am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to fill this gap here? But now he can just play, and he can play on the outside, and he's big enough and mobile enough to cover tight ends coming out. So I think they're going to find a way to utilize him and make him be a factor. But I think you're going to hear his number called quite a bit to start the season, where he's making plays. And he needs that to get that confidence in his second year.
Well, I'm glad Big Al brought up that middle. Everybody still feels like the middle is still missing a piece. How do you feel with the linebackers we got?
It's going to be interesting, honestly. Obviously we know, that they've moved, they've shuffled some things around here. Cole Holcomb is now in the middle of the field, and I think that is more of a natural fit. And Cole's a really good tackler. He really is, and he's underrated athletically. He's not slow, but he's not super fast. But he's a guy that just always seems to have a knack to be somewhere near the football on the field, and that's what you want from your middle linebacker. You want them to be smart, which he is. So now, that takes the pressure off Jamin Davis to have to learn how to call a defense as a rookie when he still doesn't even know what he's supposed to be doing, So now you have Cole in the middle, knows the defense, smart, can call it, can do similar things that he did when he was in college, North Carolina. And let's face it, you think of some of the linebackers, middle linebackers around where had his time. And I think he recognizes in Cole Holcomb that the guy has talent. They just had to find the right niche of where he needed to be. And I do think that's the middle of the field. And then naturally on the other side, Khaleke Hudson, he's made some plays out there, guys. He did drop 2 interceptions that we got on him about that he needs to catch. One of them would have been pick 6, but it was practice. And like I said, I'd rather have a guy drop an interception because it means he's in position as opposed to give up one. So he's doing well. Is he going to be the entrenched starter opposite Jamin on the other side of Cole? I'm not sure, but it sure looks like that's what it's going to be. It looks like those are going to be their 3 starting linebackers to start the season.
Khaleke Hudson, He's been a special team player for us for a while. You've been following the former Redskins, former Washington football team, now Commanders for a while. What do you think about the overall team this year? Are we a competitive team that's going to make some noise, or at least take it the next step forward? What do you think?
Well, they're definitely going to be a competitive football team. I mean, quiet as kept, they were a competitive football team last year, with limited pieces. So now you get yourself your big, strong quarterback, and hopefully that he can play up to the level that we saw him play up in his second year in Philadelphia, where he was an MVP candidate before he got injured against the Rams. So if you can get that from Carson Wentz, then you definitely have upgraded your quarterback position. We've won 7 games the past 2 years with shaky quarterback play. Let's call it like it is. So now, if you can get a veteran quarterback to play as a veteran, and he's got this kind of talent and young weapons around him, that could be good for 2 more wins. That's 9 wins right there. If you steal a game or 2 and get 10 wins, you're going to be in playoff contention with 10 wins. I mean, that's wild card contention for sure. I don't think that's enough to win the division this year, because I think the Eagles and Cowboys have taken another step. Although the Cowboys lost some receivers, they still have their quarterback, and they still have a heck of a defense developing on the other side. The Eagles, big players in the draft as well as free agency, they look like they've helped themselves quite a bit. And the Giants are going to be a mystery if they have a new coach, that could help them play up to their capabilities. A lot of people thought they could win the division last year, and they didn't play up to it. And then, of course, Washington, I mean, you think of all the changes that have been made to enhance them, and some of the stability that they still have on defense as far as the players that they have on that side of the ball. So I do think that there's enough there to reel off 2 to 3 more wins, but they're going to have to play well in order to do that. But if they can do that and get to 10, they'll be a playoff caliber football team. I don't necessarily think they're going to win 10 games this year. I have them around the 8 or 9 mark, which is still an improvement from where they've been. I think next year is the year for Washington, for the Commanders to really put it all together. And I think this year you're going to see more strides, but I don't know if it's enough to springboard them into the playoffs again.
Hey, that's one thing why we like to have you on here. Look, straight honesty, straight to the point. Love it. Never sugarcoats anything. Okay. So listen, Lake. Here's what's gonna happen, man. Right here, Big Deacon. I know you back. Show them what it is.
All right, Mr. Lake Lewis, you've been running from this little game we play. Every time you come on, you try to sneak off. But you gotta play this time, buddy. 3. If you in a fight, if you in a battle, who you got? There's one that will get you kicked off for life. I'm not gonna tell you who it is, though. It's a landmine. So go ahead and choose your 3. Who you got?
My 3 on there. Naturally, I got to go Bruce Lee 1. Okay.
Number 5.
I might go number 8. What's that?
Michael John Wright.
Michael John Wright.
Yeah, Michael John Wright.
So I got him on there. And then,
Careful.
I don't see my guy Jim Kelly up there.
Number 5.
I don't see Jim Kelly up there, so I'm gonna have
No, he ain't up there.
Jim Kelly's
Number
up
5.
there.
What'd he say?
No, Jim Kelly's not like that.
Don't listen to
No. Jim Kelly's not up there. Don't do that.
Hey, get the flexible guy. The flexible guy.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 1, 8. Who's number 2 up there? I don't really see him.
That's the guy, man. I can't think of his real name, but he was the Ombak.
Yeah,
he watched the Ombak movies.
Oh,
Number 11. Hey, number 11. Let's go late. Number 11.
That dude
I was thinking about Chuck Norris, and then I see Jet Li up there, and then number 12. I'm gonna go. You know what? I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna go 1, 8, and 11.
Ah!
Yes.
1,
Chuck
8,
Norris,
11.
baby.
Oh,
Hey, 95 years old, baby. 95 years old. Still can do it.
I'm gonna have to throw 2 landmines up there.
Hey man,
Oh,
listen,
you just missed the last. Listen,
But I'm saying that scene with Chuck Norris and Bruce Lee is the
Hey, man. Chuck is a legend, baby.
That's a classic.
Legends,
That's a classic.
that legend to get your butt kicked.
I'm gonna let you slide.
Dragon.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you slide on that one.
Chuck is a legend, baby.
All right, man.
Good one, Lake.
You got over on that one. I'm gonna have to make that landmine too. At least you ain't pick 5.
Hey, Lake, we about to get out of here,
All right,
man.
check us out, Big
Appreciate
Al.
you, man.
All right, fellas. Appreciate
Hey,
it.
man, have a good one in West
Anytime.
Virginia, baby.
Hey, Lake, thanks again. And those of you who haven't had the opportunity to follow Mr. Lake Lewis, follow him on Twitter still, correct? Lake, you want to go ahead and advertise every place that they can find you, sir?
Sure. You can follow me on Twitter, Lake Lewis. You can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Lake Lewis Jr. You can check out stuff on sportsjourney.com. And then you can check me out on ABC. I'm morning news anchor on ABC News, so you can check me out on there as well. So
Just ABC News. You know, like how you said that out, you're like, yeah, you can find me there too, if you want.
Hey, I know one you forgot. I know one. You forgot one. You forgot one, Lake. I know you kind of missed this one all the time, but you forgot the one that really means the most to us. Is when they see you out there on the commander field, make sure they call you China Black.
China Black.
China Black, baby. Hang in there.
Hey, AKA China Black.
All right.
Hey, Lake, man, thanks for coming out, man. Like
Thank you,
and subscribe, baby. Hey, man, he took it off, baby. He took it off, man. He a young man now. He a young man.
All day.
Hey, Lake, have a good one, man. Hey,
All right,
y'all,
Lake,
make sure y'all
appreciate
like
you,
and
man.
subscribe. Hey, you too. We out of here, baby. We out.
take care, guys. Appreciate it.
Do it for